other human beings. It is me. And today we're going to be talking about 3 oddly specific things to the INFJ personality type. Things that if you're an INFJ, I'm sure you're going to know all too well. I'm giving a bit of a break to the INFP stuff, and I definitely will be coming back to that in the future. But right now, I really want to focus the next couple videos on the INFJ personality type. So, without further ado, let's get into 3 oddly specific INFJ personality things. So the first thing I've got for you here is, as an INFJ, you love deep and engaging ideas, but you don't necessarily want to do that in a group or with other people. That's not to say that you can't have a few people in your life who you bounce ideas off of and who can sort of follow your introverted intuitive frame of thinking. But if you're in a study group or you're doing some sort of brainstorming session at work, I think it's pretty common for INFJs to feel like they can't really connect to their best kind of thinking in that environment. And it's because your best kind of thinking is introverted intuition connected to introverted thinking. They're your more internalized functions. And that's where you're really going to be coming up with your best ideas and having your best insights. And if you're studying a topic or something, you're really able to funnel your energy into that and really go deeply into that topic. Where if you're in a room full of people, first off, your secondary function is extroverted feeling, right? So it's not just like you're in a room full of people caught up in your own mind and then just blowing out these fantastic ideas. You're actually very aware of the feeling tones of the group. You're very aware of the emotional milieu. And being so aware of this can actually pull you out of your introverted functions naturally, because there can be a sense of feeling like you need to accommodate for the group. And even if you don't feel like you need to accommodate for the group right now, you are still very aware of what's going on in the environment energetically and emotionally. You're aware that if your boss says this, it's going to affect 2 coworkers because of something they said recently, and you're aware of how that is going to go energetically and how that's going to move through the whole group, and it's going to affect the atmosphere. So how are you supposed to get in best touch with the way that you think about things, with your fantastic thinking process, which is, again, introverted intuition and introverted thinking? How are you supposed to get the best out of this when you're actually accommodating for everyone else's emotions and you're very aware of other people's emotions at the same time? You're kind of like moving those things around in the group. I think this is what can play into the INFJ being kind of a people pleaser stereotype. I don't necessarily feel like that's true in itself. I just feel like a lot of the time, because INFJ is so aware of other people's emotions and they do often genuinely care about other people feeling good and other people having a good experience right then and there, that sometimes it can be that you're more tuned into what's going on and it's taking away from where you're at in yourself. So that's the first one. The second thing is that as an INFJ, you can feel like there can be kind of like an imbalance in your relationships a lot of the time. Because like I said, you have extroverted feeling like that. If someone in your life is having a problem, if something's difficult for them there, and they need to talk about it, you know instinctively a lot of the time how to hold space for them. And it's not just like you're sitting and listening and doing the whole like, yeah, right, okay, that must be hard for you. The empathy that you have is definitely there. But you're also using that introverted intuition to come up with your own understandings of why they might be feeling that. You're not just hearing someone say they had a bad day, and then you're not just thinking, oh, it must have been shit because of this happened. Anyone would not like that. And then you just move on to like doing the next thing. You're taking a deeper kind of approach with it, where you're looking at, what is this person believing right now that's putting them in that position? Is it something that happened to them in the past? Is it something they're struggling with in their home life? Is something in their relationship affecting the way they're feeling right now? And you're picking up on these different elements that are coming together to form this emotion. Because as an introverted intuitive, you're not necessarily that focused on effects. You're far more focused on causes. So when you actually give that level of support and interconnection to other people, and let's be honest, INFJs, Sometimes you're just minding your own business, and it almost feels like someone can just pick up on the fact that you're able to provide that, or that you might have the kind of the mental space for that. And then before you know it, someone's pouring their heart out to you. And although, yes, sometimes you might actually just want to connect to someone like that and you might feel like it's the right thing to do, if you're doing that for the people closest in your life, the people who you actually want to do that the most with, and then all of a sudden you have something going on and you want to talk about it in your own way, you want to express how you're experiencing your path in life or your emotions, and they can't hold space for it, or maybe they can hold space for it, but because you're able to do it at often what feels like such an expert level, and you've spent thousands of hours developing that mastery throughout your life, they're not probably going to be able to provide it in the way that you are if maybe they're not that empathetic of a type of person, or they're not really able to focus on the causes of how those emotions come together. And I think that's why for INFJs and INTJs as well, it can be really valuable to have one or two people in your life who are also introverted, intuitive, dominant, because they can kind of follow that thread with you and in the way that you want to do. It's really important that you can have someone else who can hold space for your emotions, but I do notice for INFJs there can be a sense of feeling like relationships are a little bit imbalanced sometimes, and that's because in a certain sense they are. Other people might not necessarily be able to hold space at the skill level that you can. And then because you're able to do it like that, I think sometimes it can sort of subconsciously come into a sort of expectation there. And then what you might actually do in order to protect yourself, if you actually feel like people aren't going to listen to you there, is you might actually just pull back and feel like, wait, I'm not going to share myself with other people. But obviously this backfires, because if you can't actually at least try to share these things with other people, you're going to be holding these things inside and you're going to be building up a lot of resentment, especially if it's in the closest relationships in your life. So that's the second one. You can feel really imbalanced sometimes in what you're providing in your relationships. I notice this a lot. So the third thing I have for you is, as an INFJ, you're not just holding 10 or 12 different interests for different reasons. You want to synergize your interests together. You don't just want to have some different interest in like playing bass guitar and then playing basketball. You're looking for, again, like I said, you're focused more on causes rather than effects. So the interests are just really like effects. You're looking to actually find that underlying bridge that connects those things. What is it about me? What is it about this part of my journey that's actually causing me to express myself into these different interests? And I think for an introverted, intuitive, dominant type in general, the desire is generally to organize your imagination. It's to organize why you do the things that you do. It's not just to have a bunch of different, you're just trying different things for the sake of it, and you don't even think about how this interest or that hobby or this relationship connects to that one. It's like, no, your work life, you want your work to be aligned with who you are as a person. You want your relationship to be aligned with who you are as a person. You want your hobbies to be aligned with who you are as a person. And I think as an INFJ, what you're doing is you're pulling all these different things into you to create this mandala or this tapestry inside of yourself. And that is the hero's journey to you. The hero's journey is to bring together what is most valuable to you in life, interconnect it, and then have it as a total expression of self. And then actually being able to express that to other people can be really difficult, because they're just going to look at it like, oh, okay, you're just into a bunch of things. It's like, no, it's not quite that I'm just into a bunch of different things. I like all these things, but it's really when I pull them together, that's really where the magic comes out there. So it's that underlying effect. I'm thinking of it a little bit like there might be different waves over the surface of your ocean. They're going to be different heights. They're going to be different intensities. But the underlying water in the ocean is the same. The underlying ocean of who you are remains the same. Even though different elements of you might express at different times, you are actually still connected to that source of who you are. And I think this is a big thing for INFJs. It's the desire to synergize and homogenize every different interest in your life into one whole. and then have that as the most authentic expression of who you are. So that's the third one. All right, there are 3 oddly specific INFJ things, and I think these are really oddly specific things. And I think if you're an INFJ, they might just sound like, yeah, isn't that how people feel sometimes? It's like a lot of people would not necessarily need to connect their interests together. A lot of people wouldn't really reflect on, they don't really feel like they're getting the right connection in their relationships, or that they can't really access their most authentic style of thinking when they're connected in a group. A lot of people might not feel like that, and I do think these are actually more specific to the INFJ in general, at least what I've noticed. Thank you for watching. I hope that you got some value out of this. If you did, appreciate you subscribing and helping me building up the channel. Like this and share it to anyone you feel like would get value out of it. I hope you're having a beautiful day, and that's me.